If you're a maintenance supervisor for a commercial property, you've had to deal with everything from leaky faucets to flickering light bulbs. But nothing's worse than that ancient boiler that's lived in the building since the day it was built, 50 years ago. It's enough to make anyone lose their cool. That's where Grainger comes in. With industrial-grade products and dependable fast delivery, Grainger can help with any challenge, from worn-out components to everyday necessities. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome to IGH Going Rogue. Today is Thursday, February 13th. Tomorrow is Valentine's Day, boys and girls. Make sure you don't forget to get your special someone something special, or you're going to end up in the doghouse, or worse, on the couch and not sleeping next to that person. Anyways, lots going on. RFK Jr. got confirmed. We have massive arrests, Tren Aragua all over the place, ICE, DEA, and like I said yesterday, we were bringing back Law Enforcement Fridays, but we scheduled it for today because I thought today was Friday. But anyways, we'll work that out. But we have our host of Law Enforcement Fridays, Jeffrey Queen, former law enforcement officer. Jeffrey, it's always a pleasure to have you. You are an encyclopedia of knowledge, and we'll talk about that as well, not just on the ground as a cop, but also I know you have 17 degrees in Homeland Security, criminals, and who knows what else. So why don't you walk us through that? And thanks for coming on the show, bud.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ivan. Always a pleasure to be with you, and we go back a long way, don't we, my friend?
Oh man, oh yeah. So talk to us about your background real quick. I know you've added a lot of academics to that as well.
I did it backwards a little bit. Started my career first, 20 years in law enforcement, then went back to school to get smart, and got a degree in Homeland Security and Intelligence Studies, and then went back and got a Master's of Business Administration and Operational Crisis Management. So, I've got some tentacles, if you will, in a lot of different things related to law enforcement, security, business continuity of operations, that kind of thing. So hopefully I know a little bit about averting crises.
Yeah. And that crisis management is important as well, because that's what we're going to talk about. Mr. Producer, why don't you show us that first slide real quick so we can start talking about them, and we'll slide through them. Obviously, RFK got confirmed. I think that's a big win. I don't know what the final count is yet, but I saw it was 51-48 at one point, so he got majority, so he's done. And I know there was another of these attacks, but in Germany this time. I think it was a van or a car. Do you have that slide? There you go, once you hit that.
And now we have a developing story out of Munich, Germany. This morning, a car was driven through a group of people that were gathered for a protest, injuring at least 28, and some say seriously. Scripps international correspondent Trent Murray is in Munich now with the latest. And Trent, what happened?
Hey there, Holly, that's right. Let me step out of frame to show you what we are seeing here. That is the car and the aftermath of this incident. Now, we know that at 10:30 a.m. local time, that car drove at speed into a crowd of people. There was around 1,000 protesters on this street here as part of a union protest. Now, eyewitnesses say that the driver accelerated towards them at speed, hitting a number of them, injuring, as you say, 28, including a mother and a small child. You may not be able to see it in shot there, but as part of the...
Man, that's crazy. That is some crazy stuff. Let's see some more slides so we can have the professor over here break all this stuff down for us. What do you got next, Mr. Producer? DA and ICE arrest 90, right, in Colorado in a series of raids, and they're all connected to Tren de Aragua, which is that horrible gang out of Venezuela, out of the Venezuelan prisons, which is crazy. What else do you have? There you go. So ICE in San Antonio also targeting Tren de Aragua. So Homan is obviously, look at that, Tren de Aragua crackdown, 8 Venezuelan gang members in Nashville. So Homan is doing exactly what he said he was going to do, which was going to go target these gangs, these criminal illegals. Is there anything else you got it there, or are you good? Look at that shit. Top ICE officials resigned or reassigned, right?
Yeah,
reassigned amid pressure to increase arrests, so they didn't want to fucking arrest people. That is fucking disgusting. They should fire them, not reassign them, man.
Well, that's exactly right. You don't reassign somebody that's not doing their job. You get rid of them and bring somebody in that's going to do the job.
So the ICE. So why don't you tell us what ICE is and what their job is, and if they refuse to arrest, then what the fuck are they doing? Right?
There's no purpose to them, and again, this goes back to, we've seen all the Doge stuff that's coming out, right?
Yep.
And the USAID spending, and the bottom line is that so much of that stuff that we saw, hundreds of millions of dollars being spent on doesn't do a thing to make anybody safer.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with protecting people. And, if I'm not mistaken, the whole bottom line of why we put that money out there for other countries in the first place is to give them some structure of stability to become self-sufficient.
Yeah.
And nobody is becoming more self-sufficient with $20 million in Iraqi Sesame Street aid.
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't do anything to make anybody safer.
No, it's pathetic. So Homan is doing what he said he was going to do. He's doing a good job. Everybody that we've had on just praises Homan as just an awesome cop, a cop's cop. You know, I mean, that guy, man, oof, he's got a pair of brass ones,
Well, and that's what it takes. And I saw last year I saw a job description for one of these aid agencies, and it was for emergency response director. And the entirety of the job description talked about saving lives, operational planning, risk assessments, threat detection, all of these things. And at the very end of the job description, it said, if you don't feel like you've checked all these boxes, don't worry about that. Go ahead and apply anyway, because our diversity of workforce, programs here, we want to give you the opportunity to expand your skills. When lives are on the line, you do not bring in DEI people to try and make your workforce more diverse. All right. DEI does have a place. If you're in corporate America, and you're trying to reach certain audiences for certain things, then you take the opinion of people who represent those different groups. When lives are on the line and you need somebody to respond in a time of criticality, you don't care what their affiliations are. You want somebody who is going to make a take decisive action to protect people, and that is not the time to be doing this kind of crap. And if we have this in our government, if we've got ICE people that are sympathetic, to immigrants over the safety of American people, then you don't reassign them. You get them out of there, and you bring in somebody whose sole goal is protection, period.
Right. 100% agree with you. And we've seen these lone wolf attacks.
Yeah.
Like the one that happened in Germany. Several have happened here in the U.S.
New Orleans on New Year's Day, yeah.
Yep. Shit, dude. I mean, there are reports out there that there are thousands of terrorists inside the country today.
Yes.
So let's put the gangs on the side for a minute. Let's put them on the side. Let's keep them warm. Mr. Producer, keep Tren de Aragua warm for us over on the back burner. We're gonna deep dive into safety against these lone wolves, against terrorists, because they might not bring a van. They might show up in a mall. They might, walk into a school, a library, at the movies, which has happened in the past. So,
right.
Mr. Queen, walk us through scenarios. Tell us what to look for. What should people be doing? I mean, I don't know. Take us through 101. Take us through kindergarten.
Yeah. Well, let's start with a foundational principle here that often gets mistaken, and that is that the police have no mandate to protect you individually. It's not what they're there for.
Say it. Say that again, please. Say that again.
The police have no mandate to protect you individually.
Right.
Their mandate is about general public safety. If it was about protecting you individually, every one of us would have a cop outside our door at night.
Yep.
Right? Yep. You know, and so today, in the environment that we all live in today, every single one of us, each individual citizen, is dealing with a threat not only to public safety, but to national security and to economic stability. Right? All of it plays in, right? Every single aspect of that requires us to protect ourselves, our family, and our community, right?
That's right.
The police don't do it. They're not there. They can't do it. And then you've got these woke cities that are trying to still, even after it's been proven time and time again that it, increases crime rates, they're trying to defund the police.
Right.
And you see, we're having this debate about defunding police versus funding all of this U.S. aid crap, where all of this money that we've wasted could have been used to protect people, families, communities. I mean, how much money did we waste that could have gone to Appalachia after Hurricane Helene? You still got people in North Carolina sleeping in tents.
Yeah, bro. Dude, FEMA sent $59 million or 89. I can't remember.
It was 59 million to U.S. aid crap after they were told not to.
To pay for luxury Pakistani-owned hotels in New York for illegals, dude.
Yeah. So we're facing rising crime rates in our cities. We've got international threats from China and Russia that again affect American stability, right, globally. And so when global stability starts breaking down, then we see that trickle-down effect that comes back into our communities and into our homes. We see it, because it may not be a direct self-defense issue, but it does take away from our ability to fund our own self-defense when prices are going up and things in the supply chain become less available, ammo, guns, all of those things. All of that is a public safety issue, every single last bit of it. And so, we're looking at all of these hundreds of millions of dollars that are being thrown away that have nothing to do with protecting American interests abroad, protecting American citizens abroad, and creating a more stable global environment where we can all thrive.
Right.
And it's taking safety right out of our streets. And then when you follow that up with these woke cities wanting to defund the police, right? Then you're forcing civilians to take matters into their own hands, and yet you still want to have the gun control debate, and you want to force them to defend themselves while taking that means of defending themselves out of their hands.
That's right. Well,
I
take my defense very seriously, as you can see. I'm not waiting for anybody to show up at my house. This is one of my favorites. And and we're ready, man. I love this bull pump right here. It holds 11 in each barrel and one up. So, I'm pretty good with that, brother.
School, right? I'm old school, right?
Yeah.
So we're going with the 1911 A1.
Nice.
This is from 1943.
That's beautiful.
It is a Remington Rand frame with an Ithaca slide, 1911 and 45 caliber. And I don't go anywhere without it or one of its.
This is my everyday. This is my G20 Gen 5, 10 millimeter. Love that thing, and you know what? It's got some takedown power, 100%, like that 45. So love my stuff and take my security seriously. So for those that don't carry, because there are a lot of people that don't carry, especially the woke. The woke are dreaming and living in some fucking fantasy land where they're going to go hold hands, skip down the road singing Kumbaya with terrorists and bad guys, and then they get decapitated in the fucking sand somewhere, and then they don't understand why. Well, those motherfuckers are here now. So, most guys like me and you are pretty self-aware. I would imagine you a lot more than probably most, being former law enforcement. But for the woke and the people that are not woke, but have always lived, without any fear, understanding, America's a pretty safe place. You can go to the mall, you can go to a store, you can go to the movies, you can take your kids wherever, to the park, and it's always been safe, right?
Well, and you bring up a really important point there. That this country was founded by bold people who weren't concerned with their own safety. They were concerned with making a better life for themselves. Yep. So they came over here to a completely unknown land, and they did what they had to do to protect themselves and survive. Yep. And they didn't have any fear, yep. Right? But here's the other thing. They also banded together as communities.
That's right.
Right? And said, we're going to protect each other. Yep. Right? I got your back. You got my back. That's a good point
right there. Yep.
Yeah. And so, what we've done in this last generation, I just recently read a book called National Insecurity, American Leadership in an Age of Fear. Wow. And what we've done since 9/11 is we've cultivated this age of fear. We have a culture of fear. Everybody's afraid of everything. Yeah. Words.
Shadows.
Upset us now, right? And shut us down. You hear somebody say something and it upsets you, and all of a sudden you're incapable of functioning. Yeah. It's ridiculous. We are the United States of America. We are bold. We are brash. We're not afraid. And we've got to turn our mindset from that culture of fear back into that culture of self-sufficiency, that we can take care of ourselves and our families and our communities. And we're not talking about vigilantism here. We're talking about grown men being able to have the skill set to protect people when it's necessary. And again, there's a difference. We always hear the difference between peaceful and harmless, right? Yeah. If you're harmless, you can't do anything. If you're peaceful, you're capable of great violence that is under strict control.
That's right.
Right? You and I are both peaceful men.
Yeah.
Right? And we're all capable of stepping out there and defending,
violence. That's right.
Defending the entire block if we have to. Yeah. By ourselves, because that's what we know how to do.
That's right.
And we built that skill set.
That's
and
right.
It's an easy skill set to cultivate. People say, oh, I could never do that. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. All it takes is to go out and get a little bit of training, learn a little bit of something, with whatever implement you want to use. You don't want to carry a gun? Don't carry a gun. Learn how to use nunchucks or a baseball bat or whatever. Whatever.
Brother, I told you a story, when I was living in Peru for a couple of years. I was packing. I was always strapped, and one day I had to, shoot and kill some people, and they ended up being terrorists from Shining Path, and and I was 25 years old, and you know what? Nothing wakes you up like that shit, and says, "Holy fuck, dude! You know what? You can be a victim at any point in life." And I remember when I came back to the U.S., I didn't go back to D.C. immediately. I did a stop in Miami. It was going to be 5 years, ended up being 20. But I remember, that first year, I was like, fuck it. We don't need guns or anything, any of that bullshit. And I was on Cypress Creek in 95. There's a gas station there. I'm getting gas, and I get held up with a gun to the back of my head, And I'm like, motherfucker, I don't need a gun in America, motherfucker. You're damn right you fucking do.
Well,
and
let me ask you a question. In Peru or at that gas station, did you ever ask their political affiliation or their ideals or any of that? No. You were just in a situation where you had to act.
Yeah.
And one time you acted, the next time you turned into a statistic.
Yeah.
Why? Because you weren't ready to defend yourself.
That's right. Which sucks, right? So that's why that'll never happen. I mean, my wife, my kids, they're all strapped. They all have multiple mags. In addition to the one that's in the gun. But what do people need to look out for when they go out? I mean, because people just kind of, they're not self-aware, man. They're in la-la land. And, dude, how do you not see a big fucking vehicle come running in your direction? I mean.
Well, You're asking a great question. Let's unpack that for a minute.
Yeah, please.
All right. So, yeah, you're dealing with the vehicle attack, but what was the immediate thing that happened after the vehicle stopped? Dude gets out and starts popping rounds.
Yep.
So it's not only a vehicle attack, it's a firearms attack as well.
Yep.
So you're dealing with a single actor, lone wolf attack, who had multiple attack methods ready to go.
Yeah. You're talking about New Orleans,
and so you have to understand that if you're in that situation, if you're down on Bourbon Street and dude plows into a crowd and you're not in the crowd that he's plowed into, you still have to be ready for him to jump out of that vehicle and start trying to engage you at distance, which means you may have to engage him at distance. Again, it's mindset, it's training, it's being well equipped. Now, if you've got a family and there's a lot of things going on, then maybe engaging the suspect is not your best option. Maybe you get behind cover and you
and secure them. Yep.
Yeah, you just it's like sheltering in place, except there's gunfire going on around you, right? Instead of a biological attack or chemical attack or severe weather. So you have to have the mindset to evaluate what's going on and then choose what's your best option. And I hate, the government did run, hide, fight, right?
Yeah.
And in theory, that's good. But words matter. And so when I hear run, hide, fight, I'm thinking of somebody that's in a complete panic, that's in chaos, that's fleeing, and so we have to change that mindset. You don't want to have a fleeing mindset. You don't want to have a fearful mindset. You want to have a mindset of confidence that says, I know what I can do. I know how well trained I am. I know what my equipment is and how it works. And, early in my law enforcement career, I went to a seminar called Street Survival, and it was actually in New Orleans. And it was about, amping up your confidence. And they gave us a little card when we were leaving. And on one side, the card had the Miranda warning, you have the right to remain silent, etc. On the other side, it had what they call positive self-talk. And it said, read this if you're going to a hot call. Okay, well, I can handle this because I've been well trained. I can handle this because I'm physically fit. I can handle this because I have the right equipment. I can handle this because I've handled this before. And so that helps you to remember to build on that mindset.
Yeah.
And you take those little talking points, and all that is training. Anybody can do that. Anybody can take that card or those principles and say, look, I'm well trained. I'm well equipped. I can do this. I'm not afraid. Right?
I'm not afraid.
And so,
that's right.
You have to get rid of that fear mindset. This is not expensive. It's not, being situationally aware doesn't cost you a dime.
So that's what I'm asking. What does that mean? What does situational awareness mean? What do people need to do when they walk out of their house, when they walk into a mall, they go into an office, they go to church? What does that mean? What does situational awareness mean? Is it just looking around looking for fucking ghosts? No. I mean, it is to in its simplest form. Yes, it's looking around and seeing what's around you, but it's also understanding what the cascading impacts of what you see could be, right? So if I walk out of my house in the morning and there's a bus coming down the street, I'm not generally concerned about that, except that if I go to walk out in the street and I don't look both ways, right? Yeah.
And so it's an easy fix. Oh, there's a bus coming. I'll just wait right here till it goes by.
Yeah.
Same principle.
Right.
If you walk outside, and we all talk about gut instinct, that gut feeling, right?
Yeah.
All right. So if you walk outside and you see somebody outside, and it's not somebody that you've ever seen before, they don't hang out in your neighborhood, but they're there, right? They're in your visible space. So now you may not feel threatened, right? But at the very least, you've triggered some sense of alertness in yourself that says, I got to look at that guy a little closer. Now, for me personally, I can do it in the blink of an eye. I've evaluated so many people, for threats that it doesn't take me any time at all. If it takes you longer, great. Spend a little extra time looking at that guy and go, all right, well, what's he actually doing?
Right.
Oh, he's reading the meter for the water company. okay, he's not a threat.
Yeah.
All right. But if he's over there peeping in the windows of your neighbor's house, take a little more time. All right. Maybe he's the contractor and he's getting ready to replace the windows. Maybe he's a burglar and he's going to break in. You don't know. Take a little bit of extra time. Don't see him and go, oh gosh, I don't want to. I got to run back inside because there's a strange guy outside. No. Look at him. And that's really important too to understand. In being out in public, walking around, you want to minimize how much of a target you look like. And criminals don't target people who are aware, who are looking around.
Right.
They flee from that.
And sometimes,
they say, this guy could ID me.
Right. And you can fend off being mugged just by looking at a person, by identifying.
Oh yeah.
And say, dude, I know what the fuck you're thinking.
How you walk down the street.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you walk down the street like you don't want anybody to see you and you're timid, then you elevate your target status. But if you walk down that street like George Jefferson moving on up to the east side, that confident walk, that message that you're conveying to people that says, I know who I am, I know what I can do, and I'm in control of my environment, then they're going to go look for somebody else that's easier to hit.
So criminals, criminals are not looking for hard targets; they're looking for easy targets, right?
That's right. And so in this this age of post defund the police and budget cuts and all of these things, criminals are thriving in what's known as a weak law enforcement environment. If the police aren't there, there's no police presence, then they've got more targets, right? So you want to eliminate yourself as being one of those targets. And, the goal is that you've got to become a hardened target, right?
So when you go to church, what should you do?
When what now?
When you go to church, what should you do? Besides praying, kneel,
start by praying.
Right.
When you go to church, start praying that nothing's going to happen that day, right?
That's right. But once you're in there, you knelt, you prayed, you're waiting for the pastor or the priest to come out. What should you be doing?
Scan. Don't get your head so far into the hymnal or the prayer book or whatever it is. You can still worship God and look around the room. Yeah. Right? Also, when you're in church, you generally know the people you're in church with, right? You tend to sit in the same place every time.
And the reason I bring that up, Jeff, is because there have been church shootings, and I think the recent one was at Joel Osteen's, which is huge. And, their security guards, were all packed and they took down the shooter, right?
Yeah.
But
and I've done church security consulting.
But in regular churches, they're not going to have security. More than likely, it's going to be a civilian or a volunteer or somebody maybe like you, right?
Yeah.
But in the majority,
what I try to teach them is to again change this mindset. And to have and train a group of your own volunteers. What better way to implement, community safety than at your church by bringing in and hosting a training seminar? Bring somebody like me or, another security professional in that will help train your volunteer security force, right? Yep. And teach this situational awareness, teach, scanning and work in the room, teach de-escalation. Everything doesn't have to resort to a gunfight, right? So what you do is that and I tell everybody, don't call it a security team, call it a safety team, and bring in people in your congregation like nurses and doctors, who can be in there to render aid, even if it's just a medical emergency and not a security risk. Yeah. And you need to remember, church-wise, church security is biblical. Yeah. Go back to Nehemiah where they're trying to rebuild the walls of the temple. And one of them is working while the other one is standing over him with a sword watching his back. Right? Protecting your flock, pastors, if you're listening here and you're worried about that, it's your duty. You have a duty to protect your flock. And you need to put in some form of security to make sure that you're doing that. And
but you should look at, you should scan. There's going to be people you know, other people you probably won't know.
Right.
You want to take a look at, what are they doing? Are they fidgety? Are they weird? Are they,
give them a little assessment, and you can even do that as part of the security team and act like you're part of the welcoming committee. You see somebody you don't know, walk up, give them a hearty handshake, and at the same time, you can kind of pat them on the shoulder or the side or something. And you know what you've done? You just gave them a little frisk. And it looked like the friendliest thing in the world.
Yeah.
And now you've kind of eased your mind a little bit. Okay, well, maybe he's a little unusual, somebody different, somebody new, but at least it doesn't seem like he's got a weapon on him.
Right, and you want to identify where your exit routes are, et cetera, like at the movies,
you want
right?
to make sure you've
what
got.
What do you do if you're at the mall, Jeff?
Yeah.
And something happens.
Yeah.
What do you do?
It's the same thing. You're always scanning. You're always looking. You got to know, what your capabilities are. And are you with your kids? Are you a mom with with your stroller? All right, then find your quickest way out. Get to cover and get out. If you're a mom with your kid in the stroller and you've got your gun and there's no way to get out, then make sure you know how to use your gun and engage. I mean, there's nothing more terrifying than a mama bear protecting her, young.
Yeah.
So you do that, but the bottom line, security is always the same, right? It's always the same. We had this discussion before when we had somebody from the company that was going to sit in a congressional hearing, right? And wanted to know how am I going to get safe in a crowd? Well, the best way to be safe in a crowd is to create time and distance. You want concentric layers is really what it is, right? So you always want to know what's on your inner perimeter, your outer perimeter, and your far perimeter. And the further you can be from danger, the better off you are. Same thing at the mall. You're scanning, you're looking around. All right, now I'm getting ready to go in this store. All right, what's going on in here? Is there somebody in? Oh, maybe something looks bad, so I'm not going to go in right now. I'm going to go down to the food court and get a bite to eat, whatever it is, you got to exercise. You got to scan, but you've also got to exercise good judgment.
Yeah, because these terrorists are going to just hit out of the blue, right? They're not.
Yeah.
We're not talking about criminals that are trying to mug you. We're talking about these terrorists that are already in the country, and they're either going to drive a van or a car through a crowd, or they're going to start shooting people. And you got to be aware of what the fuck is going on around you at all times, right?
All times. Situational awareness is the number one thing that you can do to keep yourself secure. Know what's going on around you. If it feels funny to you, it's funny. There's no reason to say, oh, this feels funny, but I'm going to go on in here anyway. No, stop and take a minute to evaluate. Really, one of the biggest problems we have in this country is that everybody's in a hurry and nobody's paying attention. They're all running as fast as they can with their phone in front of their face.
So they have no idea who's around them, who's behind them, who's in front of them. They're clueless, dude. And I think that's a big
it's the simplest thing I can tell you. If you want to be a hardened target, look around. The first step to hardening yourself as a target is to look around and understand what's around you.
And who's around you. And what are they doing, right? Hey, Mr. Producer, are you ready to tee that commercial up from our friend Mike Lindell? Let us know when you're ready, or just roll it whenever you're ready. There we go.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard MyPillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Awesome. That's our friend Mike Lindell. Make sure you use promo code IGH. Promo code IGH. We got to help Mike out. Isn't that amazing, Jeff? Is Jeff still there? There he is.
Yep.
You know, how they tried to cancel Mike, and you know what? He just turned around and crushed the American people. You know, came out of full support for him. And what a story, man.
That's great. And it's a terrific example, you know, again, of crisis management, right? All right. He's got a disruption that comes up, and he's ready to pivot. Right, he's ready to pivot. He, you know, we'll make some adjustments. We'll make some changes about what we're doing, and you know, we just keep driving on.
Yeah, amazing. You know, Mike Lindell, IGH. Make sure you use that promo code, man, and get those big discounts. Tomorrow's Valentine's Day. Might be a good chance to buy your wife or your husband a mattress topper. How's that? Or some pillows.
Right. Be situationally aware that it's a holiday and you could be in trouble.
That's right. Like I said at the beginning, the couch or the doghouse, either one are not good on Valentine's and on a Friday night. Right. So let's go back to Tren, to the gangs, because we've talked about how to prepare for a terrorist attack that will happen. We know that will happen. We're going to have more of these this year and maybe next year. It depends how fast Homeland can go catch these people.
Right.
But going back to the gangs that we know are just brutally violent. They're savages. They're animals. We've seen the attacks all over the place. MS-13, Tren, Aragua. It's not a terrorist attack. These are just thugs, right? They're just criminals.
Right. Criminals, right.
What's the difference in preparation for that?
Oh, I don't know that you got a lot of difference in preparation.
Well, on the street, maybe not, right? But when they come into your house.
Yeah, so, I mean, again, harden your target. Be ready, you know. I mean, you know, terrorism is just a crime writ large, right? I mean, a terrorist attack is nothing but a criminal act, right?
Correct.
And we give legitimacy to these organizations, you know, by claiming it's a terrorist attack because of their ideology.
Yeah.
Well, shooting somebody in the street is still shooting somebody in the street. You know, somebody coming and trying to kick in your door, whether it's, you know, a Muslim extremist or it's, you know, one of these Hispanic gangs or it's the Bloods and the Crips or whoever it may be, is still a crime if they're trying to kick your door in. Yeah. Harden your house as a target. You know, there's something called, and this is really interesting, it's been around for a little while, it's called Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design. And it's the acronym is CPTED, right? And it's about, again, we talked a minute ago about concentric layers, right? So if I'm at my house and I've got a sidewalk in front of my house, well, that's a delineation that what's on this side of the sidewalk is mine. You can walk down the sidewalk and be fine over there, but don't come on this side of the sidewalk. And that's a psychological barrier. Then you've got other soft barriers, like maybe you've got a hedgerow. Maybe you've got a sign that says no trespassing. Maybe you've got a big fence and you've got a dog in there and a sign says beware of dog. Maybe you've got security cameras. Maybe you've got bars on your windows. Maybe you've got a guy that sits out front with a shotgun. You know, I mean, whatever it is, you have these layers of security that anybody that wants to get you has to go through. And, you know, the psychological ones, the sidewalks, the hedgerow, you know, those are very minimalist things. A sign that says no trespassing, very minimalist, right?
What does that do?
What does that do, mind of somebody that's going to do something.
What does a no trespassing sign do? Because I see it a lot, and I know law enforcement always says, "Hey, if you're worried, put a no trespassing sign on."
Well, I mean, it's a psychological barrier, right? I mean, locks keep honest people out, right? You put a sign on your door, on a door at work, it says authorized personnel only. Well, almost nobody is going to walk through there unless they know they're authorized. So you're putting up a psychological barrier that says, oh, I know I'm not supposed to be in there, right? But then you back that up with the physical barriers. You put the camera system in, you've got an alarm system, you know, and then, you know, I advocate for everybody to be armed, right? be armed. If you're not comfortable with that, well, there's not a whole lot I can do for you. You make yourself a bigger target than me, right? Because nobody's coming to my house, right?
Yeah,
I mean, nobody with any sense is coming to my house. If they look at, again, it's like looking at two different people. We talked about the mugger walking down the, looking, hiding in the alley, looking at people walking down the street, and the guy who walks confidently, head up, looking around, is going to be much less of a target than the guy who's got his head buried in his phone, is kind of meandering along, So do the same thing in your neighborhood, right? Do the same thing in your neighborhood. Make your house look like it's the house nobody wants to go into, right? Make them look like your neighbor's house is the one they want to go into.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
Thing.
Like I always say, the only way somebody's getting in my house, dude, if it's a fucking SWAT unit, or a full fucking attack team. I mean, we got so much fucking weapons and ammo, and everybody's strapped in this fucking house. I mean, fucking A, dude. And we got cameras and everything in every fucking possible direction, right?
Well, and unless somebody is your political enemy and they send the SWAT team in the middle of the night to come get you for, having some documents at your house.
There you go.
You're not facing an armed incursion,
right?
From a group of an army of people. At most you're going to have 2, 3, maybe, guys trying to come kick your door in, right? I mean, that's the same thing with these terrorist attacks, right? And the reason for this is because it doesn't require any kind of support system, any kind of expense to be laid out, any kind of infrastructure.
So once somebody breaches your house,
how do it with whatever he's got.
So how do you protect yourself inside your house when there is a breach? What should the plan be? What should people plan out? What should they be thinking? What should they think ahead? Right? They got to have a plan, right?
Ideally, you would have what I would call a panic room or an escape room that you could, retreat to and hold the fort until help comes, right? You've got something that's secured that people can't shoot through, they can't get in, and you say, all right, well, you want my TV? Okay, you can have my TV. Go ahead and take my TV. You can't come in here, though, because if you come in here, we're going to have a problem and you're going to get killed, right? I don't want to kill anybody if I don't have to, right? And so you want to know where your points of protection are, all right? Where do you retreat to? All right, what's your last line of defense that you say no further than this point right here, otherwise we're going to engage.
So you should not,
because you're worried.
So you don't
you're
think you should
about
engage
trying
somebody.
to make sure you've got. If you're parents, you have to somebody broke in. Well, now you've got to worry about where your kids are. Are they in their room? Did they get up and go to the kitchen for a drink of water? Where is everybody?
Right.
So your first thought is, all right, if I'm not actively engaged, then I got to get my people and get us all to our place of safety, and then I can worry about engaging if it becomes necessary. Right. You've got to make sure all your folks are accounted for.
But you would not engage.
At that point,
you would not engage.
Start engaging.
And you would not engage. You would just retreat and hold.
It's circumstantial, right? I mean, if I can get all of my people, to safety, and I know what I'm dealing with. If I'm dealing with one guy, he may be some meth head that just broke in, trying to find, something opportunistic to get. Yeah, then maybe I don't engage. If it's an armed attacker who's out to not take my stuff and leave, but to actually do me harm before he exits, then we're going to have a problem, and they're going to wish that they had not.
Yeah, and Gail's a better shot than you are anyway, so they're up Shit's Creek if she comes out.
With certain weapons, she is. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, .357 Magnum revolver. She is a dead shot.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you, we were on a family vacation, had the extended family with us, nieces and nephews, and my nephew had him a brand new Glock 19 that he thought he knew what he was doing. I was using my SIG P320,
nice.
my TAC Ops 320, with the 21 round magazines.
Nice.
So the range put on a little contest, a competition for us with turning targets and everything.
Oh, very cool.
And, so it was great. And so when we got done and they're scoring, obviously I was first, Gail was second, and my nephew was third. So then we ran it again, and when we scored them the next time, my nephew was looking and he goes, "Oh, I only lost to you by 1 point. 1 point. I was second by 1 point. And I started laughing, and I looked at the instructor, the range instructor, and he started laughing. And I said, "Go ahead and tell him." And he looked at my nephew and said, "Yeah, he shot that entire second string left-handed."
Oh man, that's badass, dude. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about. Be proficient with what you got. Learn how to use it.
Yeah.
Learn how to use it. Gun's nothing more than a tool. I mean, look, if somebody broke into your house and was attacking you and all you had was a hammer, you would use it.
Fuck yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You've never been trained on a hammer. All you got to do is swing it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This is a, look, we're going to hold this up again. This is a precision instrument of defense.
Yeah.
You learn how to use that. You can put those rounds where you want them. Yeah. I mean, you've got, all those high capacity weapons right there. This thing I've got right here on my desk holds 7 rounds in the magazine, 1 in the chamber.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm confident enough with what I've got that I can end anything that happens here with just those rounds.
Yeah. Oh, you hope, right? You hope.
Yeah.
And unless you run into several folks, but you always carry a couple extra mags, right?
Oh yeah, well, and it's obviously not the only weapon I've got in this house.
That's
so,
right. That's right. You got an arsenal in there.
Oh yeah,
enough to start
I've got what I need.
Enough to start a gang war. That's for sure.
Look, I'll tell you, I got enough here that if the neighbors showed up, I could issue each one of them a weapon too, and they could help me out.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. You could start a gang war. Neighborhoods against neighborhoods, man. Yeah. Tom Homan's doing a kick-ass job, dude.
He is. He is. But you know what? This shouldn't be surprising to anybody. The Republicans. Trump has control now. He's got the House. He's got the Senate. And he's not using the usual suspects to run his administration. He went outside and he got people that just know how to get the job done. And when you do that and you give people a job to do and you get out of their way, they will do it. It's the old thing. You can tell me what to do or you can tell me how to do it, but you can't do both.
Hey, and breaking a little bit from Law Enforcement Fridays, since it's Thursday, RFK Jr. got confirmed. I think that's going to be very, very good for health reasons for the country. Yeah. I mean, dude, it was so out of control and so much poison and shit was happening. And I know this, and the reason I bring it up is because I know it holds a very special spot for you. And some of the stuff that, you and your wife do as well as part of a business. But it happened kind of by accident, right? When you retired from law enforcement, you had a condition, and then how you resolved that through not traditional medicine, right? I don't know if you want to share that or it's...
Well, you're right on it. I mean, we went outside and obviously I'm not going to, go into any, sales pitches or anything like that. That's for another day. But, we did use some non-traditional medicines and you said we're deviating a little bit, but we're really not. What is more necessary to your security than your health?
Yeah.
Right? If you don't have your health, then all of your preparedness and your protections start breaking down.
Yeah.
Right? And so you got to be that's why law enforcement and the military have a physical fitness test. Yeah. Right? They have a standard that you have to meet. Right? Why should their standard be higher than what you hold yourself to?
Well, if you go back to JFK, right? I mean, he had the physical fitness standard in schools, right? Everybody grew up having to do push-ups, run, and chin-ups, right? Yep. And then it went away because everybody got soft, right?
Right.
And and all of a sudden we grew up, a whole generation of fucking pussies grew up, right? That it's fucked up. But I don't know, man. You can give us a sale pitch. That's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You're here as a guest. You can talk about your business. But because I think it's important, right? I mean, especially like that breathing machine. The air purifier.
There's all kinds of things out there that you can go and do, and some things work better for some people than they do for others. The lesson here is go find what works for you. Find what supplements you can take. Find what cleans your air in your home better. What purifies your water better. What you're putting in your body. All of those things. They matter.
Yeah.
They all matter. And
I remember when we did that water test at the house. That was enlightening, to say the least.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, it's really important to know what you're putting in your body.
Yeah.
And it's also important to remember that what comes from a public utility isn't in your best interest. Like the water coming out of your faucet, it's mandated to come out at a 7.0 pH, but that's not so that it's better for you. It's so that it doesn't deteriorate the city's pipes. So find out what you're putting in your body.
Damn. And water from water bottles, etc. But I think it's going to be interesting to see. And I know a lot of the people on the left and some on the right, we're kind of, on RFK on the whole vaccine thing. We're going to have Dr. Suzanne Humphreys on. I think it's next week, and she's this world-renowned nephrologist who started questioning vaccines and became, I guess, if you want to call it, an anti-vaxxer. And how she was almost canceled, and they tried to remove her license because she went against the grain. And and you listen to her book. I was listening to her audiobook, and it's just fascinating, dude. I mean, when she starts breaking down every vaccine and what they have, and how patients started showing up, and babies and kids with kidney problems, and started doing more research, and it's like, dude, there's like real injuries that come out of vax, and you look at the statins and. It's almost like the drugs they give you, the side effects are fucking worse than what they're trying to cure you.
Well, it is. I mean, look at chemo for cancer patients. I mean, it's killing you just a little bit slower than cancer's killing you, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with all these medicines that we're doing. We need to go back to natural remedies. That's why, so many of these, societies, these civilizations, lasted so long is because they had natural medicines. They didn't have all these chemicals and things. They got what they got to heal themselves right from the land.
Yep.
And the purity of what you're putting in your body matters.
Right. Hey, so what do you think is going to happen? The rest of this year, next year. I mean, do you see a lot of attacks? A couple, maybe one. I mean, what do you?
I think it's going to be cyclic. Honestly, I think that you'll see some, and what you'll see is prevented attacks. I think I think you're going to see a lot of attacks that are planned, and they get prevented. Just because we're going back to good old-fashioned police legwork. We're doing things and we're following up with things that we're not worried about how they make anybody feel. Obviously you still have to go within the law. You have to, maintain civil rights, but you're going to see a lot of these lone wolf attacks are going to get deterred. Because we harden targets, we act on actionable intelligence rather than sitting around and talking about the theories of these things. Yeah. And so I think there'll be some things. Maybe you'll see some ramp ups around anniversaries. April 19th, September 11th. There may be some increased activity.
Do you see something like a 9/11 happening again?
Well,
honestly.
Let's be real here. The access to weapons of mass destruction is easier now than it was before because you've lost some control over some of those things. Who knows what's coming out of Ukraine right now between Ukraine and Russia and what's hitting the black market. So I'm not going to say I see one coming, but I see the possibility of one coming, certainly.
Yeah, I had a colonel on here, a former colonel. He's a specialist in nuclear proliferation and one of the Iran specialists. And he called this back in 2021, back when we had Battleground. Yeah. Dave Jonas, he said, he called out what was going to happen. He said, Russia's going to invade Ukraine. Iran's going to start a war, a proxy war with fucking Israel. And China's going to try and take, Taiwan. They're going to see him as weak. They're going to try and test them, and we're going to see attacks on the homeland again. And all of them have happened. And yesterday we had Emilio Gonzalez, a former colonel as well, Army Intel officer. He served under the Bush administration as Undersecretary of Homeland Security and head of immigration, actually. And he was also on the National Security Council, right? So
right.
He broke down some numbers, like how many Chinese have come into the country through the border that are military age.
Yeah.
Military age.
Right.
He goes enough to I can't remember what he said. Enough to have a battalion and a half. He goes, that's a lot of fucking people. It can do
a lot of
damage.
dudes. Yeah.
You know, and the Russians we've heard from customs, in San Isidro, talking about 50 to 100 Russians a day coming in. What the fuck are they doing? And these are just people that we're catching. How many people have we not caught? Right.
Yeah.
That's why I keep on going back to the terrorist thing. I think it's so important. So many people believe something is going to happen again, and they've been waiting, just for Trump, just to fuck with him. And what is that going to spark? What is that? What's going to happen? And
I think they're going to make a terrible miscalculation about what Trump is willing to do. I mean, we see, all of this where Trump is trying to end wars. He's trying to negotiate peace. He's trying to reduce the military-industrial complex, overseas. You better not perceive that as weakness.
Yeah.
You better understand that he's doing what he's doing in the best interests of America.
Yeah, for prosperity. Yeah.
And that when we're prosperous, it doesn't mean that we forgot how to fight.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And again,
I think Trump would have no bones about nuking somebody.
Well, we saw him drop the mother of all bombs, right?
No. But what I'm saying is I don't see him having a problem lobbing a fucking nuke over to Iran.
He does what he has to do based on the circumstances. No. I mean, in his first term, you saw that he dropped the biggest bomb we've ever dropped on anybody.
Yep.
And that was to not escalate a war, but to end it.
Right.
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 And so he's going to do what he has to do to put a stop to it.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think, we're about to, and hopefully, this next 4 years leads us into 12 years of J.D. Vance. Yeah. 8 years of J.D. Vance. So 12 years of this,
this brand
policy,
the
decision making. Yeah. And what you see is people finally saying, we better stop messing with them.
Yeah, Emilio said something
because they will kill us.
Yeah, Emilio said something yesterday because I asked him point blank, about the story that cartels were thinking about or considering using drones to attack U.S. troops, and he said that would be the biggest miscalculation in history because this president would go and decimate them.
Yeah,
he wouldn't give a shit about fucking crossing borders. He would go in there and exterminate them like the fucking rats and cockroaches that they are, right?
Right.
I think I don't think he's going to go nuke Jalisco or Guadalajara or something like that. But probably send a bunch of SEAL teams and just go and fucking destroy them. But in case of a terrorist attack that's state sponsored like Iran, I think he nukes them, dude. I think he nukes them and just takes them out of play forever. It
wouldn't surprise me, and we were close to that before.
Yeah.
I stood on the mall in January 20th, 1981, when Ronald Reagan was sworn in.
Yeah.
And the minute he said "I do," so help me God, the loudspeaker came out and made the announcement that the Iranian hostages had just cleared Iranian airspace, on their way to Ramstein in Germany, and then back home. And the reason was because if they hadn't, when he stepped off those Capitol steps, I think he was going to go in there and order the bombing of Iran, and without any mercy whatsoever.
Yeah.
And they knew that. And that's the key to strength and leadership.
Yeah.
If you know what somebody's going to do, if you don't comply, You
Well,
don't have to worry about what might work out and might not work.
Yeah,
out,
I think he gave Hamas. I think he gave Hamas till noon on Saturday to release everybody, not just trickle them out, or there's going to be hell to pay. And I want to see all the hostages back. That's obvious. But there's a little part of me that would love to see what hell to pay means.
Right. Somebody needs to be made the example, right?
Yes, exactly. You need to show an example of what the fuck that means. And you know what? That'll fucking put everybody in check for the next fucking 4 years. So we'll see. Hey, Jeff, man, it's always a pleasure to have you. We see your X handle, Jeffrey Queen, on the screen. Where else can people follow you? What are you up to? How do they contract you? How do they hire you? And what for?
Well, we do crisis management, business continuity, security management, risk assessment, and you can find us at www.fortisresilience.com, fortisresilience.com, and we're happy to help you make a plan. Whether it be to secure your home, to secure your business, to create continuity of operations plans for when disruptive events strike. And these don't just have to be security. It can be supply chain. It can be severe weather. It can be, system shutdowns. Any of those things. You look at Fukushima, right? Fukushima, who had that superfecta of earthquake, tsunami, flood, and release of nuclear materials all in the same day. Right. So let us help you and your business figure out a plan for what comes next.
Yeah, and what we didn't talk about is that part is business. When you're at work, how do you keep your employees safe? How do you keep yourself safe as an employee? So we'll leave that for next week, pal. I appreciate you. It's always fun having Jeffrey Queen on the show, and I look forward to. I don't know if we're going to do Law Enforcement Fridays. If you want to pick a different day, but we gotta put them back on, man. The public is demanding it. Your fans out there are screaming for Jeff Queen to get back on. So we appreciate you, pal.
Well, I appreciate you having me, and I'm always willing to come on whenever you need me.
Awesome, brother. Love you, man. Take care.
All right, love you too, buddy. See you.
All right. Awesome, guys. So I hope you guys got a lot out of today. Like we talked about it, very long form. There are a lot of threats right now in society and across the world, really. But, locally in your communities, from these criminals, these thugs, these gangs, and et cetera. We know Tom Homan and his people are doing a great job with ICE and law enforcement and trying to capture all these folks that are out there. The number's been out there for a while. It's about 680,000 criminal illegals that are in the country. So just think about those staggering numbers. If we're popping 1,000 a day, it's going to take us over 2 years to capture every single one of them. So it's dangerous out there. Pay attention, be aware of your surroundings, be aware of what's going on, recognize threats. And also, we know there are thousands of lone wolf terrorists inside the country, so anything can happen. And you should be aware of that. Did somebody leave a fucking bag that's not supposed to be there? Unattended bags. You see a car running, towards you. Don't just stand there and, think, what do I do? Get out of the way. Warn people, right? Don't be a victim, guys. And if you carry, you should carry all the time. Don't just have it, I don't know, in a bag or in a book, book bag or in your glove box or in the trunk of your car. Have it on you. Make sure it's loaded and make sure it's chambered. The last thing you want to do is pull out a gun and have to chamber it, because you lose time and time could depend if you live or die. So anyways, guys, we'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully you guys fucking enjoyed the show today. I think we're going to bring it back on Fridays. I'm going to talk to Jeff about that. And you can follow us, as always, on Roku, on Amazon Music, Audible, Apple, Spotify. We're on iHeart. We're on Pandora. We're on Streaker. We're on every single major podcast platform and probably every other podcast platform. So you can find us as long as you have internet. You can be anywhere in the world. We'll see you guys tomorrow. IGH Going Rogue. We're out.